All right, real estate. Now, I'm going to start with something very emotional. What does owning a real estate really mean to you? Ravindra, let's start with that. I mean, what does owning a real estate really mean to you?
In India, it's a dream.
That's your psychological backup of whatever you are created.
All right, psychological backup. Rajesh, your impressions of RERA. I think he summed it up very well. He said finally you have to do your business honestly and truthfully, which was pretty much missing. It was an unregulated market, 76,000 builders. The number was even shocking to me. I don't know if any one of you knew there were 76,000 builders in India. So it's a big country and the number is not astounding, but the fact that it was unregulated for all these many years as people were buying is something which was quite shocking. I mean, and people were investing the largest chunk of their savings, at least if you're living in India, it's the biggest asset that you will acquire in a lifetime for most Indians. And it was unregulated. So that game has shifted dramatically and for the better.
Well, these are the best times for Indian economy because any developing country like India, infrastructure and housing are the most critical elements of any country, and that's now getting more accountable and people are being monitored for this industry. Like Srini said, this was one of the most less monitored industry from the government angle. What the customer used to generally suffer on was on the grounds of quality of the structure he booked and the delivery period. Both these elements now with this new regulation of RERA coming in, which has been implemented in India, these two aspects are assured and customer always suffered on the quality part and the delivery part, which will now be taken care by RERA. So this kind of accountability has increased the confidence of buyers, not only Indian buyers within the country, but also NRIs who are investing back home, either for their own investments in real estate in India or for their near and dear ones who are staying back home. So there is a lot of change which has happened in the last few months. Lot of NRIs, there are more than 3 crore NRIs across the world as far as India is concerned, and all of them today are looking towards India as a great investment destination because that is where the real estate prices grow. It has been stagnant for the last 2-3 years though, but because of these new regulations coming in, a lot of things are being changing. So I think this is a very positive move. The financial industry is supporting real estate big time with a lot of banking industries supporting the buyers' decisions and funding them pretty liberally and including the rates of the loans coming down, which is again a great motivation for people investing in real estate currently in India.
This is something that everybody, asks, how do we know this is the rock bottom? Rajesh, you want to take that question?
Well, that is a question which nobody can answer because property, whenever the fun part of property is, whenever you buy, you feel you could have got it a little cheaper. But 2 to 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you consider that that was the best decision of your life. Secondly, majority of the people buy properties with bank loans. And the best part about properties is when you pay an installment, the value of the money keeps depreciating every day. Whereas the value of the assets never depreciate, especially in a growing country like India. Any regulation, when any country adapts to any regulation, the current stock will be available at the cheapest price. So the stock which is available today is available at a price which will not be available tomorrow because regulations makes the product expensive. The more number of regulations that come in, the product is going to get more expensive by anywhere between 5% to 15%, which is a huge discount on the property value today. The appreciation of the assets in the coming years, the format is going to change because there is going to be steady supply over a period of time, and RERA will ensure that the supply does take time since clearances is going to take longer than what it used to happen previously. When the supply is getting regulated in terms of short supply, the demand would be there, and there would be always a scenario in urban cities especially where the neighbor will always want to give you a premium. So that will not be a standard market standard in terms of appreciation of the asset. But when a neighbor wants to buy, definitely there is an appreciation to the seller. So in congested cities, appreciation will always happen in existing living complexes, whereas the new complexes will always have a price increment since a lot of government taxes keep appreciating as with the time passage. So asset buying, the right time is the moment you think you should buy. You should not delay it with an expectation that it is going to get you are going to get a reduction in the price.
I would agree that. I mean, what as a real estate, understanding that I have, I always see where is a lot of office space coming up. Because, per square foot of office area, those many residences will be needed. And I think it's pretty easy, isn't it, Rajesh, to follow that kind of news flow, to find out, okay, I mean, here you have an IKEA taking something in close to high-tech city in Hyderabad. So, boom, there you go. It's an easy decision that if you're looking at Hyderabad, then you probably could even take IKEA and say a 5-kilometer radius. Does that work?
It does work. There are some basic criteria that you need to calculate when you invest in a real estate. For example, for 70 to 80 square feet of office space, you need 1,000 square feet of a residential unit. These are some of the drivers where you'll come to know where a residential apartment should be invested in. The second driver is, being developers, we have come out with a model where the buyer needs to get advantage of the investment he is making. So the thought process that we cultivated in the last 2-3 years was, where can we give independent villas with the land ownership, where the villa can come to the price of a flat within 30 kilometers radius. And we created this as a business model, and on the outskirts of cities like Mumbai, like Hyderabad, like Chennai, like Madurai, we created villas where the primary most dream of any human being is to own his own land, which houses his house on the land. So we created those kind of opportunities where the investor, he buys the land with the house today at the price of a flat, which is nearby, closer to the city, and that property appreciation is much higher than any flat can ever appreciate. So we tried that route, and we have realized that there are a lot of keen buyers who love this model. And we say that you are used to buying a flat where you don't own the land because you can't plant your private tree, and you can't fly your own kite because the terrace doesn't belong to you. It is a society's terrace. You have to do it collectively. We came up with a concept that you buy a villa where you own the land, where you can plant your own tree, where you have a roof which belongs to you and you can fly your own kite. That theme worked well, and outskirts of metro cities are the best growth hubs. For example, in Mumbai, 40 years back in Juhu, the property which was purchased at 1.5 lakh rupees in Indian rupees, 1.5 lakh rupees, is today selling at 35 to 40 crores in 40 years. Similarly, and Juhu was 40 years back, outskirts of Mumbai. The outskirts of Mumbai from Juhu shifted to Mira Road. Mira Road today, a 1 BHK will cost you 1 crore. Mira Road shifted to Virar. Virar has gone to a place called Bhainder. Similarly, every urban city has got this kind of progressions, and the scalability of the investment, the capital invested is huge, and it is common sense that land appreciates faster than a flat. Land with a house will definitely appreciate faster than a flat, so we concentrated this kind of developments which have benefited the investors. Well, like Srini said, every sixth man on planet Earth is an Indian, which is a very powerful thing to say. India is the largest growing middle class population. India is the youngest population. The government wants to have 5 crore houses built by 2022, which will ensure that maximum number of Indians get a comfortable shelter above their heads. Economy is multiplying, not developing, multiplying. The rest of the world looks at India as a land of opportunities. And I would be very happy saying that the rest of the world will develop India as a country, because that is where their investments will grow. What happened to China a couple of years back, it's now overdeveloped, is going to happen to India, because a developing country gives you growth in the capital. It not only gives growth in the investments that you make in terms of stocks or stock markets or any other business models, but also it gives you growth in the investments that has been made in the infrastructure and the housing sector. So these are very promising days. By 2050, India is going to be a dramatically different country. Irrespective of which government rules it, there is a very powerful government now which has a majority. So they are taking the right and the best decisions, which is instilling the confidence of the NRIs and the foreign investors, FDIs, to invest into India. I will always say that the company which wants to sell the car will build the road in India. They will invest in the infrastructure so that more cars can get sold. And that is what is driving the economy of this country. India is a very, very hungry market. It is showing growth like no other country can show in today's times. So I think these are very, very promising days. The income of people in India is changing. 25 years back, 10 people family, 1 man earning. Today, 4 people family, 2 people earning. 4 people family, all 4 earning. So the revenue streams have changed, and everybody in India back home wishes to 3 very important aspects: buying a home, doing a great marriage, and buying a car. So I think These are the drivers, motivating drivers for them to generate more revenue in the family, and this collective revenue is making them buy homes and other aspects which give them comforts in life. Well, I would like to educate everybody here about a part of RERA which is very critical for any investor to invest in a country like India. The biggest challenge in India was the developer was getting money from the flat buyer or the house buyer and investing it into other projects, and when those projects got stuck, every project got stuck and the buyer got stuck. The best part about RERA is now controlling the money of the flat buyer, the house buyer. The withdrawal of the money gets deposited in a escrow account, and the withdrawal can happen by the developer only when three people sign: the structural engineer, the architect, and the chartered accountant. The chartered accountant cannot be the chartered accountant of the developer. He has to be an external consultant. When these three people sign, only then money gets withdrawn. That too, the money withdrawn can be used only for the development of the project. What that money can do is also being defined. It can be used for paying the landlord, it can be used to pay a loan related to the project, and it can be used majorly for the construction activity of the project. Even marketing and advertising and sales brokerage is not covered in that 70%. 30% of the balance money of the buyer is withdrawn by the developer after the project is completed, handed over, occupation certificate is achieved, then he can withdraw the profit. So it has completely restricted the use of funds, which ensures that there will be money balance to complete the project on time, because every project today by RERA rule has to give a definitive time when the project will be delivered. There is no compromise on that. Extension is allowed for maximum of one time, that too for a maximum period of 1 year. So all this kind of facility by the RERA has really ensured that the money of the investor, the home buyer, is 100% secured, and the developer has to give a undertaking, a notary undertaking, what do you call that, affidavit to the banker that every rupee withdrawn is being used for the development of the project only. So he is under oath, and every buyer today is a cop who can complain to the RERA department if the developer has deviated, although there is no scope, because now professionals for the first time have been legally made accountable by making sure that they give the certificates which will help them to withdraw the money. I think this is the golden period for the real estate sector in a country like India, and like London, even the Indian properties are going to be as expensive down the lines, purely because as safer it becomes, more expensive it gets.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll just add that there are penal provisions in RERA Act if anyone defaults. So that gives more confidence that
The penal provisions till yesterday were only civil, and now it is criminal.
It's criminal.
So the penal provisions are not only penalties but also imprisonment. And the imprisonment, the cops are super happy to arrest developers who have defaulted, and they are just waiting for the owners or the buyers to make a complaint. They don't even bother and understand RERA. They just want to go and arrest the developer. Now this is positive for the buyer market. This is very, very positive. So this law is like a TADA law. TADA is the Terrorist and Disruptive Arms Act in India. It's as equal to the TADA law. And this has instilled confidence, because of which NRIs from all across the world are highly investing in India as a country.